Welcome to the Diet Doctor YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com. I want to tell you about another news post we have up on our website at dietdoctor.com. A post that was an interesting study looking at putting people on a ketogenic diet, actually I should rephrase that, looking at putting people on a low-carb diet and seeing who gets into ketosis and what kind of side effects do they have, how long do they last. Now, at the surface, it doesn't seem like much of an exciting study because a lot of people would say, well, we know a lot about ketogenic diets already. We know a lot about the keto flu. What was interesting about this one is they took people and put them either on a 5% carbohydrate diet, a 15% carbohydrate diet, or a 25% carbohydrate diet. So 25% is getting up there in the amount of carbs, and generally not considered a ketogenic diet. But what they found in these healthy volunteers, and that's important, they were healthy volunteers, what they found was that all three groups got into ketosis, which they defined as a blood level of beta-hydroxybutyrate above 0.5 millimoles per liter. So the 5, 15, and 25 all got into ketosis. Now, not surprisingly, the 5 and the 15% stayed pretty solidly in ketosis, whereas the 25% kind of went in and out of ketosis. And that makes sense. The higher your carbohydrates, the less likely you are to stay consistently in ketosis. Now, whether or not this would be true for people with diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, obesity, that's another story. For those people, I would suspect that 25% would not be enough to get people into ketosis, and you would have to be lower, more towards that 5%, because this was in healthy volunteers. But the other interesting part was they looked at the symptoms of ketogenic flu, the headache, the dizziness, the fatigue, and they found that all three groups had similar symptoms, and the severity of the symptoms peaked at day 4 and lasted until day 17 or 18. Now, I have to say that was a bit of a surprise for me because in my clinical practice and what I usually tell people is it lasts about 1 or 2 weeks. Those symptoms last about 1 or 2 weeks, but they found that they lasted actually a little bit past 2 weeks, which makes me wonder if they were being aggressive enough with hydration and electrolytes and salt and so forth, because that's usually a pretty good cure for that. And we have a whole guide on our website at dietdoctor.com about the keto flu and side effects and some tips about getting over them. But again, some of the response I got from the study was, well, duh, we know all this stuff. Why do we need a study for it? And I find that so interesting because we in the low carb and keto community, sure, we understand this because we have a lot of clinical practice. But what I love about this study, it's a scientific study in a peer-reviewed journal that can be brought to physicians, that physicians who aren't as well versed in low carb or keto can read it and understand, get a little more familiarity with it and see what it takes to get people into ketosis and what you advise their patients. Because if you just go tell somebody, oh yeah, just go restrict your carbs and you're going to help your diabetes and lose weight, and you do it and you start to feel terrible, you're going to say, I don't want to do this. This is awful. But if instead that doctor has that knowledge and says, for the first in the first 4 days, you're going to notice these symptoms peak and they're going to last for 17 to 18 days, according to this study. If a doctor has that information from a peer-reviewed journal, all of a sudden they can counsel that patient so much better. So anyway, that's my long-winded explanation about why I think this study is so great. Well, I commend the researchers from New Zealand who did it, and why I hope we have more of it so we can reach more doctors. And you can bring these studies to your doctor and say, look, I want to educate you about a low-carb diet. So hopefully that was helpful. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more of our news updates, and you can see the full article with more details on dietdoctor.com. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.